Hannah Whiteley and welcome to the latest edition of HSBC Golfing World. We've got another packed show for you, so here's just a look at some of what's to come.
We look back at the history of the Open at Royal Birkdale. Seve's former caddie tells the tale of the infamous fruitcake incident. And we're in Vietnam with Faldo inspiring the next generation of golfers.
But first, a tour of Royal Birkdale with the club's head professional.
My name's Brian Hodgkinson and I'm the head professional at Royal Birkdale Golf Club. Morning boys. It's always been a very forward-thinking club. It's very much a family-orientated club. They've always been looking to the future. They don't rest on their laurels. We'll have this championship, it'll all be analysed and they'll be saying, what can we do better the next championship that comes around? They don't make them like this anymore. That's one just for us to re-varnish. Take it back, that's like going back 30 years for me. That's what we used to do most of the day. The course, its basic layout has stayed the same. We may be 200 yards longer than what we would have been in '83. At the moment, there's been no difference between now and 208. We put a few bunkers in further from the tee in 208, but because it was so windy, they didn't come into play anyway, so they couldn't reach them. But they're there and could be in play in certain conditions, but we're so weather related. This hole, the third, this is one of the holes where it epitomises what Royal Birkdale's all about. It's a wonderful driving hole. Set between the dunes, as many of the holes are, elevated tee giving you a good view of what's about to come. Playing downwind is the normal prevailing wind, 450 yards for the top players, not too long. If the wind changes in the other direction, it's a monster. The 12th, wonderful short hole, very highly regarded, often included in composite course on the Open Championship rota. Not long by modern standards, but if you have a look, it's so well protected, set into the dunes. Put the pin in the back right-hand corner. You're really asking the player to cut one into that pin and playing into that breeze, wind off the right, that's such a tough shot. This is the start of what I call the third loop of holes at Birkdale. There's 2 par 5s in the last 4 holes, so it always gives you that opportunity of turning decent rounds into very good rounds, or a not very good round, just tidying it up nicely at the end. In a few weeks' time, when the rough starts growing, this will be long grass right and left, and that's all the way down. So anything that's not on the short stuff is going to be punished. And you're going to find it extremely difficult to get onto the green, or certainly get any sort of control when approaching the green. If the tee shot's found trouble and you're playing a lag up, this is the sort of area you're going to finish in. There are 8 bunkers in this little area here, and there's very little space between them. And if you're coming out of rough, or it's very difficult to control the ball, this is when this one problem leads to another problem. I always call it a thinking man's par 5, the 15th. You've got to keep your wits about you all the time, get a good strategy. Get in trouble, take your punishment, but just make sure you don't compound it by finding some more trouble. We're on the 17th fairway now, and this position here is in 208, is when Padraig Harrington, coming with a 1-shot lead up to the 17th, had hit his tee shot here and then played from this spot a wonderful 5-wood, just carrying that left-hand bunker. Ball ran up onto the green, virtually stone dead for an eagle, which sealed his victory. The 18th, wonderful finishing hole, really a tremendous hole. We're looking at a line here towards the White House as we look at it from here. The little bunker on the right there, that's a 280-yard carry, but from an elevated tee with the prevailing wind, that's on for quite a lot of the guys. That would be a good line, perhaps with possibly a little bit of fade on that. A safer line is to the left of that, aiming towards that left-hand bunker, giving you a nice view into the green for your second shot. There's a very narrow entrance to this green. There's 2 bunkers protecting it here and there. And the nerves kicking in a little bit at the end. Just a small mistake, it'll get gathered by then. I'm expecting the pins to be pushed to the side, so even if you hit the middle of the green, you can still be leaving yourself a 30-footer, which is can still give you a problem or two just at the end.
Situated on the Lancashire coast in northwest England and regarded as one of the finest courses in the world, Royal Birkdale will host its 10th Open Championship this summer, 63 years after its first. 23-year-old Peter Thompson won the first of his 5 Open titles when the championship first visited Birkdale, pocketing the winner's cheque of £750 after a one-shot victory over Bobby Locke, Di Rees and Sid Scott.
I'm very happy, as you can see, and I know my wife is very happy also, wherever she is. I don't know where she is.
Prize money had doubled when the Open returned in 1961, and Arnold Palmer became the first American since Ben Hogan to win the Claret Jug. It was the 4th of his 7 major titles. 1965 was the last championship to conclude with 2 rounds on a Friday, and by closing with 72-71, Australia's Peter Thompson won his 5th and final Open.
And here's the man they're all going to watch, Lee Trevino.
The swashbuckling style of Lee Trevino tamed Royal Birkdale in 1971, when Supermex became only the 4th player in history to win both the US Open and Open Championship in the same year. His duel with Taiwan's Lu Liang Huan was to become the stuff of legend. Johnny Miller won his only Open Championship in Britain's long, hot summer of 1976. But the tournament is almost as well remembered for the 19-year-old Spaniard who finished in 2nd place, Seve Ballesteros. The 1983 Open Championship saw Tom Watson win his 5th and final Claret Jug at Royal Birkdale. His 2-iron to the final green, leaving him a straightforward 2-putt for a one-shot win over Andy Bean and Hale Irwin. It was a victory that would prove to be the last of his 8 major titles.
What a way to end a dry spell. Win the British Open, in England of all places.
Australian Ian Baker-Finch birdied 5 of his first 7 holes on Sunday to go out in 29, as he shot 64, 66 and 10 under on the weekend to charge through the field in 1991 and record his only major title.
Like that one, Petey? I love it. You like that one, Bud? Love it.
Beginning to look like the victory walk.
The 1998 Open Championship is remembered as much for the performance of 17-year-old silver medal winner Justin Rose as for eventual winner and that year's Masters champion Mark O'Meara, who completed a memorable double after a playoff win over compatriot Brian Watts. Despite a wrist injury which threatened his participation, Padraig Harrington successfully defended his Open Championship in 2008 after a 4-under Sunday back 9 saw him become only the 5th golfer to win consecutive Claret Jugs in the past 50 years.
It's one of the few times I think I've ever heard my caddy say good shot to me before the ball is finished. Once I'd hit that, I knew I'd won the Open.
Time now for My Hero, where the world's leading pros tell us about the person who inspired them to take up the game of golf. Today it's the turn of the winner of the 2014 Women's British Open, held at Royal Birkdale, Mo Martin, who picked a player from a very different era.
Kathy Whitworth
in that. Her 88 wins, the fact that she was a pioneer, and the fact that they didn't play for a living, really. I mean, they made very little money, and they paved the way for us to do what we're doing very much. And they still remain in the game. Kathy Whitworth wrote an awesome book, The Little Book of Golf Wisdom. I read that book before I won my first tournament on the Symetra Tour. And so just her outlook, her approach to the mental game, and she's so funny. I've been able to meet her a couple times, and I did a couple talks next to her, and she's just a hoot. So it's great just to hear her perspective and hear from the winningest pro. I mean, she doesn't get enough credit for what she's done. She's amazing, and I think everybody should be talking about breaking her records.
Billy Foster is one of golf's leading caddies. He's now known as Lee Westwood's bagman, but for 5 years he caddied for the late, great Seve Ballesteros. Their relationship was an intense one, and Billy treasures his memories of the late Spaniard. For many, Seve was the greatest match-play golfer of all time, and Billy remembers one story in particular that illustrates the Spaniard's hunger and desire in one-on-one competition. It has gone down in history as the fruitcake incident. It happened at Wentworth in the final of the 1991 World Matchplay.
To describe his competitive edge, should I say, it was a World Matchplay final, and he was playing Nick Price, who is arguably the nicest man I've ever met in world golf. You know, and Seve respected Nick. So they're playing the 13th hole in the World Matchplay final. It's the morning round. I think Nick Price might have been 2 up. It was a great game. Nick Price is now over his second shot. And Seve's turned to me and says, Billy, we have something to eat. I said, yeah, I've got a banana and there's some fruitcake. Okay, give me the banana. Well, I give him this banana, but Seve liked his bananas black and sweating and horrible, like everybody else, would just throw him in the bin. But I made the big mistake of giving him a yellow one. I gave him a yellow banana, how can you do that? But it had a tinge of green on it, and it, you know, it just didn't quite pick, and it snaps off. Oh. Well, that was the end of the world. I cannot give you, you cannot do a job, eh? Give me the fruitcake. And I threw the banana in the trees. I said, I'm a caddie, not a greengrocer. So I give him the fruitcake. So he throws this bit of fruitcake in. Just as Nick Price gets the top of his backswing, this fruitcake goes down the wrong hole. And Nick Price is just on his downswing. It's a foot behind it, duffs it in the front bunker left. And Seve's like, Nick, I'm so sorry, eh? Nick, I'm so sorry, please. And he says to the referee, can you take the shot again?
It's the same as if somebody in the crowd do the same thing if the camera went off. It's one of these unfortunate things. I know it's very unfortunate to Nick, but there's nothing we can do. We can't make the stroke.
And Nick, being Nick, oh, Seve, no problem, it didn't put me off. But I asked him at the President's Cup a couple of years ago, sure it put him off, but he was such a nice fella. No, it didn't put me off, we'll carry on like, you know.
It shows you shouldn't be eating when your opponent or partner are playing, and you should always eat with your mouth closed. Breathe through your nose and keep it out of your windpipe.
Nick Price is now in the bunker, short left. Chops it out to about 10 feet.
Well, good shot. Played it nicely.
So I'm stood at the back of the green with Seve, and I've... Seve, give him the putt. What? I said, Seve, give him the putt. You know it makes sense. I mean, you've put him off. You've made it for, you've got half. Let's avoid the controversy, go to the next. No. In the fairway, I offered him a half, and no. He must finish the hole. I offer once. No, he must finish the hole. I'm like, you stubborn son of a... And he made him put it.
Now, here he goes. This for a half.
Thank God he held the putt. But no. The hardest man on a golf course you could ever come across.
Seve went on to recover from that 2-hole deficit to beat Price 3-2.
He equals Gary Clare's record of 5 victories in this splendid World Matchplay Championship. And what a good season he's had.
Laguna Langco Golf Club in Da Nang, Vietnam was the host for the latest Faldo Series Asia Grand Final. The tournament was first established in 1996 with the aim of nurturing the next generation of champions. Both boys and girls aged 12 to 21 from every corner of the globe contested a 54-hole stroke play competition, all with the hope of winning the ultimate prize, a start in a professional tour event and a spot at the Faldo Series European Grand Final. And of course, the competitors get to spend time with one of the greats of the game.
What I'm doing is giving back, paying forward. I've created something I'm genuinely interested in and wanted to do this. As I say, I chose wisely in the game of golf. I was a sportsman looking for a sport. I found golf. I've been totally engrossed in the game for 40+ years now. I want to introduce as many as we can to the game. That's the mission. The RNA have been huge supporters of me from day one, so I'm supporting them. In the mission now is that, hey, we've got to get kids interested in golf, but we've got to keep them interested in golf. We've got to pass this forward to the next generation. So I think I believe we have a duty to do that. It's given me a life, let alone a career, given me a life in the game.
To have Sir Nick Faldo as a role model and a mentor is just huge value. You see that with the questions that they're asking at the clinics, you see the respect that they give him, the sheer enjoyment. I think they're very surprised that he's that relaxed and that they can have a drink with him, have dinner with him, they can have one-to-ones with him, and he's here all week from start to finish. I know I didn't as a youngster, as a young amateur or a player or even a professional, I didn't get the opportunity to have any time with the ones that I looked up to, the players I looked up to. So, it's a tremendous honour for them and they take full advantage. You just see it all week, you see the pleasure that they're getting from it, which is great.
Having him here as well, just giving everybody his experience, telling us about his career, it's been unbelievable. Being able to take something away from what he says, being able to learn from what he gives us, it's just invaluable. One thing that he said was, just try and stay in the moment. A lot of times I can get ahead of myself and I look back on the past holes where I've made mistakes, it really gets to me. So I think trying to stay in the shot that you've got, it's a big thing.
Many players, they can be very good in their own country. Now to come over here and you're playing against 19 different nationalities of the best of all these countries, that you can challenge yourself against these sort of people. Then in turn with that you have the experience of travelling, different foods, jet lag, different grasses, everything. All of these different experiences add to hopefully growing and becoming better golfers for them.
It's a wonderful chance to measure themselves against the best of the other countries, and that applies to the Europeans coming over from our other Grand Final, to all the Asian countries. So whoever comes out on top can be very proud of the fact that they've beaten the best in the world in that category.
Going into the final day, Napat Paramacharoenroj, Liu Yunghua and Jonathan Wijono were all tied for the lead, making it an exciting tussle. On the 18th green, Paramacharoenroj sealed a dramatic victory with a closing round 68 to clinch a one-stroke win over Jonathan Wijono. In doing so, he went on to win not only the under-16 age category, but was named winner of the 2017 11th Faldo Series Asia Grand Final, and he did it by draining a 35-foot birdie putt. Brilliant.
On the final holes, I was leading by one. Well, I think I was leading by one. I knew that on the third shot that I was the one that was leading the tournament, and my third shot was very unlucky. It ended up in the divot, and it was 77 yards to the pin, and I was just aiming for the middle of the green, because if I missed the back of the green, it would be a hard up and down to work on. So just aim for the green and 2-putt it for par.
Oh, that was fantastic. What a great way to win.
Hi, you might recognize me from this whole 2 green jacket thing and being an unstoppable force on the PGA Tour Champions. I am Bernhard Langer, and here are some tips for the greatest tournaments of the year for you. Before your round, whether it's early or late, have a healthy breakfast or lunch. Eat well, eat right. And during your round, have a healthy snack. Eat something every once in a while. Good luck, play well. Cheers. Course management is key. If you don't like a hole, don't hit the driver, maybe not even the 3-wood. Just take a club you're comfortable with. In this case, I'm using my hybrid. See, it's easy. Make your range time count and practice with a purpose. Doesn't matter if you don't hit a perfect shot, but practice does make perfect. And besides, there's always somebody that will collect your balls. Hey, watch out! And guys, enjoy. Remember, have fun. This is my job, and I still love it.
The lives of old Tom Morris and his son young Tom Morris are the subject of a new movie, Tommy's Honour, and Golfing World went behind the scenes at St Andrews.
For me, the story of Tommy's Honour is multi-layered. There is a certain synchronicity for me about this story, I mean, especially in Scotland. I grew up on a golf course with my father, and I really understand the relationship that Tom and Tommy have together. They both have a passion for the game, my father and I do. Then for me, as a father, I have a son who's trying to make his way in the world. And I really see how in the relationship between Tom and Tommy, Tommy is trying to make his way in the world.
Some of the beautiful moments are Tom's pride in his young son's coming into himself, his growing strength, his growing confidence, his growing skills.
Turnover.
B-marker.
Action.
That young lad of yours will make a fine caddie one day.
Thank you, sir. He's got that lovely generosity of spirit, which is you're proud of your son's achievements and not, you don't feel jealous of them.
The other element that I love about this story is that it comes from the beginning. You have working class men who had a passion for a game that didn't have any history particularly, and that they were creating history, but they had no sense of this. They had no sense of their own legacy.
All right, let's do rehearsal. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 1873 Open Championship, Mr. Tom Kidd.
So young Tommy was the first professional athlete of all time. He actually said, I want to be paid to play this game, and instead of a gambler giving him a little stipend to have him play for them, and he said, no, people are coming to watch me play and I want to be paid for it.
So gentlemen pay you to play golf?
They put the stakes up for a match. Hundreds of pounds, like.
Every golfer ought to tip his cap to Tommy Morris, the first touring professional, the man who invented that role. Readers, viewers, and fans will all respond to the idea that, oh, that's how the game came to be.
I want to discuss the stakes for the match tomorrow.
You have your role, and we reward you for it.
If you want me to play in the match, then the money comes to me before we begin, all of it.
That'd be ridiculous.
It's time for a new arrangement, so.
When they went out on the golf course, the crowd were almost pugilistic. They were surrounding the players. There wasn't this sense of, oh, these are sort of slightly untouchable people, or these are people that we should revere.
It's an amazingly dramatic period, and it was very raucous because, of course, the whole game came about because of on-course betting.
In our film, you know, there is a very famous case in Musselburgh where fighting broke out.
My perception of golf is what I've seen on TV, of this incredibly manicured game. The fist fight breaks out in a golf match. And, okay, this is a very different world I haven't seen.
And in fact, Tom walked off the course to the local pub and they had a dram while they were waiting for the chaos to calm down. And for me, that's so visceral. These people were real working class men who were playing this game, and they were loved and they were championed by their various towns.
Play away.
But they reckon people are going to come from all over just to watch the great Tommy Morris.
If anybody can go out and actually play with a golf club that was created by old Tom, they'll realise how skilled those boys were.
After the actual film itself was shot, we thought it would be fun and interesting to have world #1 golfer Jordan Spieth and his father Sean take a stab at playing with the apparel and equipment from the Morris era.
Hey, I'm Jordan Spieth. You may not recognize me today. I'm out here playing with hickory sticks and I've got my dad on the bag, or what you would call a bag. Let me see these three. Let me see these three. My first memory of St. Andrews was when we arrived into town. This was with the Walker Cup team, and everybody's eyes were wide open and checking out the intricacies of the home of golf. Now I know why they followed through like this. You can't extend. The game of golf with its values and established in integrity, and it's a great game. Doesn't matter if it's a mother-son, father-son, two brothers, two sisters. Sorry guys, mulligan, start it over. It's short of the hazard right here.
I can get it fairly quickly.
You know, with us, we really enjoyed going out there because we were competitive with each other, but we'd also be extremely supportive. And at least my dad was of me. I was always trying to kick his butt, but he was always hoping that I would kick his butt in the end, kind of secretly, which I thought was really cool.
Good shot.
Thank you.
Tell me what the clubs feel like. What does it feel like trying to swing that piece of wood?
It's odd swinging with, I mean, you can imagine, especially in Scotland on rainy days, you know, without using a glove today or even the grips today, just using this, whatever the wrap is they put on this. You know, it doesn't go anywhere, but it just kind of drops off to the right too. So it's, because I hit that one maybe slightly off the toe and it shot it over this way, and the first one was here and it shot it over that way. So hopefully we hit the middle and see what it does.
Let's see what the approach, let's see what you do with
I think it's probably the same club. This is a handicap all the way around. There's, it keeps it more compact, but you lose a lot of power and control. It's definitely a challenge. All in all, it was very, very difficult to play in, and I gained just a bit more respect for those guys back in the day to be able to do that.
The joy for me is to start on day one with nothing, and then to finish however many years later and be able to say, this is the story that I wanted to tell, and here it is, and I hope you enjoy it.
The truth is, he was better than I.
The ultimate winner of this prize is my very own son, Thomas Morris Jr.
That's it for this episode of HSBC Golfing World, but do look out for us next time you fly. In the meantime, you can catch more videos online and stay in touch with us via social media. But for now, it's goodbye from me, Anna Whiteley, and enjoy your travels.